kitchen once again. Bem-vindos à minha cozinha. Over the weekend, I made some queijadas de nata, and when I make queijadas de nata, I make the same dough for the queijadas. It's the same dough I use for my rissois, any kind of rissois. So I have a little bit left, and I hadn't made a video with rissois that I make with shrimp. So that's what I'm gonna do. I cut the recipe in half because I only have a little bit, and I just want to make a little bit of it. So to finish this, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make shrimp rissois. So anyway, in here I have, the recipe asks for 1 pound. I have 3/4 of a pound here. These are frozen shrimp. They still have the shells and they're raw, so I'm gonna boil this. I have 1/2 cup of flour, 2 eggs. I have more than here. I need 2 tablespoons of butter, parsley, onion, and some milk. So I'm gonna start making my cream, and then we'll get started. Okay, friends, I already put my shrimp in water. I'm gonna put a little bit of garlic powder. I just want a little bit of flavor for that shrimp to cook. And then I want, I'm gonna put some, salt. Just so that shrimp at least cooks and it has some flavor. So I'm gonna let this cook here, and then we'll work on the other stuff. Okay, in this pan, I'm gonna put my butter, and I'm gonna start making the cream for my shrimp, the filling. My shrimp are cooking. Now I'm gonna do the filling. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil, about a teaspoon. That way that butter doesn't burn. And I'm gonna add my onion. And we're just gonna cook this until it's a little bit translucent. Friends, I forgot to take the garlic, and I'm gonna use my grater to grate my garlic because I don't want chunks of garlic. So I'm just gonna grate it so it will get the flavor, but we won't have to bite. So I'm putting 2 cloves of garlic. My onions are translucent, and I'm gonna add my milk. I'm only doing half of the recipe, so I only have 1/2 cup in here. We're gonna bring this to on a simmer. I'm gonna add my parsley. I'm gonna temper my egg. One of the eggs is for the top, and then I have 1 egg for the filling. So I beat my egg, and you kind of want to temper it because we're going to put it into this milk, and you don't want to scramble eggs. So, and mix constantly. Keep mixing. Because if you don't mix, it'll become scrambled eggs. Keep stirring. And then I'm going to add my flour gradually and combine into this flour, milk, and onions. You kind of want to cook that flour. That's pretty much what we're doing. And don't worry if it looks too thick, because we're going to add some of that water from the cooking the shrimp. So it will thin it out. That was 1/2 cup of flour. My shrimp is done, so I'm gonna pour a little bit of it at a time, this water, and try to mix all this so that flour is incorporated with the add a little bit more. You could do this with any kind of meat. I just haven't done with shrimp, a video with the shrimp. That's my favorite. Just keep mixing this. A little bit, and you want a kind of a creamy, not real thin, but a creamy consistency. And I'm gonna chop my shrimp, and then we add the shrimp in here. I use frozen shrimp because it makes it easy. I always have it in my freezer, stuff like that. So looks like the flour is all incorporated. I turn off the stove, and now I'm gonna cut my shrimp. Okay, and my shrimp is done. I chopped it real fine, and you chop it as fine as you like. And now we're gonna mix all this together, and we're gonna let this cool. It needs to be cool before you put it in the dough. And that's what you want. You want kind of a thick consistency. I'm gonna taste first salt because I didn't add no salt but what I add into the shrimp. So I'm gonna see if it needs any salt. Yes, it needs a little bit of salt. Maybe about a half a teaspoon. I'm gonna put a little bit of pepper. And I don't add no other spice. My mom used to add mulligeta, but I like this as a white, kind of a white sauce inside. I mean white filling instead of, if I put the mulligeta, it would be kind of red. You don't want it too thin, but then you don't want it too thick. About maybe 1/8 of an inch. That's what you would be good for. I could have put this in my mixer, it would be faster, but it's such a small piece. I didn't want to have to bother taking the mixer out just for this. I want to make sure this is not sticking to the bottom. I put flour underneath, so keep making sure that it doesn't stick. I always try to find a way to do stuff with leftover dough. Try not to waste anything. Just happens. I made some quejadas for a customer over the weekend, and I had this left over. Now, the size you make, the Rissois depends however you want. I have actually 3 different ones. I have this small and this big medium one. I want more of a small, so I'm gonna cut circles using this cutter. This is a cutter on the bottom. You cut it and you make your circles. And if you don't have, use a cup. If you don't have this, try to do as much as I can. Okay, I'm gonna take my dough and I'm gonna put it in my little circle container. This makes it so much easier. And don't overfill it. I always overfill it. But it's not easy not to. I just try to fill up the bottom of that in there. because if you overfill it, it will come out. This. And then you close it. And here you have, these are more like an appetizer size. You can make a meal with this, but I always end up filling over too much. But I want some meat in there. I don't want just dough. Here you have. Let's take these scraps. We'll use those again. I'm going to use the size of a teaspoon. That's the best measurement. Okay friends, I'm at the end of my Rissois. You know, sometimes when you try to get rid of something and then you end up with something else extra. That was my case. I had too much filling, not enough dough. You know what I did? I always have phyllo dough, that Pepperidge Farm phyllo dough in my freezer. So that's what I did. I thawed out some of that phyllo dough, and that's what I'm doing now. I filled, made with some phyllo dough. So now I'm gonna have more Rissois than what I wanted. What a problem I have, right? So anyway, so I have 3 more here to do, and then I'm gonna start frying them. And we'll come back and show you. We're gonna start frying out of Rissois. I'm using breadcrumbs because I had a lot of breadcrumbs, but you can use panko bread. I also like to use panko bread crumbs, which is a Chinese breadcrumb. It makes them a little bit more crispy. But anyway, so I'm gonna fry them now, and then I'll come back when they're done. Friends, my shrimp Rissois. I only want to use whatever I had the dough. Well, now I have more than I wanted. But, so I had extra of the filling, and I used the puff pastry, Pepperidge Farm puff pastry, and I use my other filling in that. So you can't even tell the difference. Look how good these look. I haven't tried one, so, oh. So good. I haven't had one of these in a long time. It is so good. For me, for a party, you can make a party and use this, or it can be for lunch. A couple of these with a green salad, perfect. A snack for the kids when they come from school. Very good. That's gonna be my lunch. My mom used to make these. Once a year, she would get the people from town, and we used to go around the island. Rent a bus, and we just go around the island. She used to make a lot of Rissois because you could make them ahead, You don't have to refrigerate them and keep them cold, and it was easier to grab. So I remember a lot of this on those trips. So some of these I'm going to put them in the freezer. So when I want, I just throw them in the air fryer, and I have some. Then I'm going to share some with my in-laws. So anyway, you give it a try to this beautiful recipe. Easy. And if you don't want to make the dough, I'll have the recipe with the dough. But the dough that I use is the same one I use for my quejadas nata. And that's why I came to do this. So, but if you don't want to make the dough, you can use that puff pastry dough. You can use that. Also, if you don't want to fry it, you can bake these. But of course, they don't taste as good as when it's fried. Anything fried is better than baked. But it's healthier. So anyway, you give it a try, this recipe. Give me some feedback. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Share my videos with your friends on your social media. I really would appreciate that. And until next time, let's get cooking. Have a good day.